Hello, friends. I'm Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit, and this is Story Time, where I talk to you about whatever I feel like. On Saturdays, I share stories of mine, but I've been very bad about that lately. And on Tuesdays, I share my reflections about Star Trek Voyager, since I am a very bad Star Trek fan, but a heartfelt one, and I've been repenting of my sins of not having fully watched through Voyager or Enterprise. And I'm watching them now, and I'm talking about them here. Not doing the reaction thing, just talking about episode by episode my thoughts because I'm a writer, and my thoughts about storytelling are therefore important, sort of. And mostly, I don't want to deal with the hassle of doing the standard reaction thing. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about AI and writing and the company Anthropic. So, yeah, AI has taken the world and the internet and the writing community by storm. It's like, oh, everybody's, oh my God, everybody's blowing up about it. And, there's retards on the tech side who are like, yes, we're going to come to the singularity, and then the singularity will come. And the post-humanism thing will happen when AI will become the great grand god, and we will join the grand god and become better than humans, and we will become something or ever. And yeah, that's never going to happen. The singularity is bullshit. Saying it right now, it's never going to happen. If you want to ask me why I think that, I'll can spend hours talking about it. But no, the AI singularity is PI proper PR. Sorry, propaganda, tech bro bullshit. But there are real AI, large language models and generative things that create, uh, you know, text and art and all that stuff. And there's a lot of great stuff to become from it, right? I have seen I've been recently been watching a whole lot of comic creators online here who have taken their comic book stills and using generative AI have created little short clips that are awesome that completely replicate their comic book drawings that they themselves wrote and then become great little pitches and great, advertising schemes for their books. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. And I know the music industry, professional musicians have been using AI to help them compose songs. I recently reacted to I didn't react to it. Yeah, I did, but I just shared a thing that was completely made by AI. That was a song about Captain Sisko from Star Trek DS9, and it was incredible, completely AI generated. It was great. That said, and I also know uh, some writers who are using AI to augment their own writing efforts, who are using it to write faster than they could have. And I don't know the specifics. I don't know exactly how they're doing it because I haven't used these tools. I don't really want to because, frankly, it's more fun just to write. And also, it feels like it would be very annoying to learn yet another tool to produce what I produce. And, yeah, these guys are saying it'll, it's much more, time efficient. But it seems like it would be just another hurdle to jump through where I could just type out what I want to type for my stories. So I don't use it. I know people who do, and I don't think the use of it particularly is immoral. However, comma, as I have previously talked about, there are lawsuits going through the courts about uh, various large language models and whether it's kosher what they're doing or not. And there is some nuance there, right? I mean, the model itself is taking the inputs that were given to it and generating something else. And one court has said that's no different from a person who reads a bunch of things and then use those things as an inspiration, which I totally can get behind and understand. And that's, you know, I think that's right. You're talking about the mechanism of the output. Another court said a similar thing, but they were not really very comfortable with it. The first court, the Anthropic court, the court that was, overseeing the case against Anthropic, the AI company, that court was like, yes, what your model did, the output was fair use, but the your use of the works to train the model to create that output, that was not good because you didn't pay the people that you used to train it. And I think that's reasonable also. And I thought that at the time, because it was like, yeah, when you are, when I buy as a writer, I'm, I'm not a well-known writer. I'm peon nobody. Nobody knows who I am except for, a couple thousand people who have read my books over the years and several hundred who like them and a couple of hundred who stick around and subscribe to me and, want to see more of what I do. Uh, I'm a piano nobody, but at the same time, it's like I'm not. I kind of think I'm representative of a person who has grown up reading a whole lot of books, and I never thought I would become a writer. I always thought that was some big nebulous. Oh my gosh, how could I ever do that thing? And it was only, frankly, after my younger sister wrote a book and got it published that I was like, damn it, what? I better be able to do that too. Call it sibling rivalry, call it what you will, but that was the thing that prompted me to write, and since I've been writing, I have been drawing all on every experience I've ever had, every movie I've ever watched, every book I've ever read. Obviously, the experiences that I have personally had have contributed more than the rest of it, but every other thing I have contributed to my mindset and my understanding of fiction and writing and, awesome storytelling. And so every time I write something, I'm drawing on all of that. And me logically, kind of thinking, if the large language model is drawing from what's fed into it, it's not that dissimilar. Of course, granted, I'm a human being made in the image of God. I am different from a algorithmically programmed thing that has no agency, has no morality, has no intellect of its own. It's merely executing, commands that were programmed into it, which makes my output fundamentally better because I am better. I am better. I am ontologically better than the large language model AI thing because I am a soul, right? Created in the image of God and thus have a spark that can't be given to a merely human made thing. That said, the mechanism that the large language model uses, though inferior, is not dissimilar to what I do. So I didn't have a fundamental disagreement with the judge who ruled that the, the two judges who ruled that the output of large language models were not were fell within the use of fair use. fell within the provisions of fair use, I should say. I'm sorry. I logically, I can't discount that. Ethically, I can't discount that. However, I do agree with the one judge who said that yeah, it's fair use, but you that Anthropic erred in their their mech their process in that they did not pay for the use of the works that they used to train their model. And it's a lot of writers and a lot of people are seems like not they're going by more emotion than logic, and maybe they're not thinking spiritually. It doesn't matter about the spiritual thinking. A lot of people are going based on emotion and rhetoric, not thinking logically. If you think logically about it, that judge's opinion was right in both respects because that judge is correct. The output going through is inspired by the inputs, but you know, in the same way that a person would be, but lesser for the reasons I just said. On the other hand, it is also true that you got to pay the writers who you are using for something like that, who are using in general. Now you could say, "Hey, Kingswood, what about what if they had just bought the books from the used bookstore? The writer wouldn't have gotten, and they bought the books from the used bookstore. They scanned them in, then fed them to the large language model. The writer wouldn't have gotten any profit from that." And it's like, yeah, that is true. Different areas of copyright law apply to that. The first sale principle applies, but the principle still applies because they would have had to pay for the book from the used bookstore, or they could have just taken donations from books that were given to them. Of course, if they were to do that, they would have had to also pay in the sense that they would have had spent the money to scan the book in, right? Ebooks, unless you're in the Amazon Kindle ecosystem and you in the Amazon Kindle ecosystem, you're allowed to lend ebooks to other Kindle users, but ebooks also you can't just give away. It's a license to use within the prescriptions that are given. Even when I sell ebooks on my bookstore, I don't uh, I don't have similar restrictions of that. I just say you can't sell them again or give them. I don't think I specified you can't give them away. Maybe I should. But the point is that even if you're talking about ebooks, there are legal restrictions on what you can do with those ebooks. So either way, Anthropic uh, erred in their procurement of the books that they then used to train their large language model. Why does that matter to me? Well, it turns out that I wrote a book, short novella that Anthropic used in their large language model. It is my book Veritas Morte, which is a science fiction novella that is frankly kind of awesome. I think. Uh, Let me tell you a little bit about it. So I was thinking about, hey man, what would it be like? Because I grew up watching Voltron with, the Emperor and Prince Lotor and all the other things. I was like, man, what if Prince Lotor didn't know that he was actually the prince of the evil empire? Because he just thinks he's the prince of the empire. What if he didn't know it was evil? And that produced this novella, Veritas Morte, science fiction novella that I wrote and published back in 2017. And unfortunately for Anthropic, I registered the copyright. This is the certificate for it. I covered up the doxing information. And it turns out that Anthropic used this particular novel of mine as part of the large language model training. And well, it's really unfortunate for them. It's great news for me because I am now, because I registered that copyright and I'm now going to get a payout from them. I'm in a writing group with a bunch of people. Some of the people in that writing group have had multiple dozens of books used by Anthropic. And I was thinking, oh, I can't possibly be affected by this settlement. I mean, Anthropic agreed to a $1.5 billion settlement to pay out the authors who they used the works for, stole, frankly. And I couldn't possibly be it. But, I've been hearing from people who have had 40, 50, 60 books. And I was like, oh, well, shoot, I'll go and check out the website for the lawsuit. And sure enough, that's this one book of mine was used. And, you know, hey, I'm gonna get a little payday from it. So that's pretty awesome. I This is a fun book, fun story. It's not a very long story. It's less than 100 pages, but it's great. Uh, it it's in the same universe as my Warfare Qualified novel that's over my left shoulder there. Uh, of course, the people in Warfare Qualified don't know about the people in Veritas Forte yet. That's gonna come down the road. Anyway, but the point is that it's become more personal to me now that I know that one of my books have been used. Does that change my opinion of the output of the large language model? Nope. I think it's large. It's a step below the human inspiration level because of the image of God and all the other stuff I've already talked about. But functionally, I think it's mostly the same. But I also agree that the use of it is without payment to the author was also wrong. So, you know, you could say, "Hey, Gaineswood, you just revealed you're about to get a nice payout from Anthropic because of this." Well, yes, I am, and I'm very happy for that. And I am looking forward to future uh, AI's lawsuits because I think the one that George Martin is involved with, the judge said it has to go forward, and the OpenAI is probably going to have to pay the people that they stole, well, let's just say stole from to use to make their large language model. And I don't know if I was involved, but I've got a lot of books out there. Maybe I was. Maybe there'd be a great payout for me. Yay! Yay, that'd be great if I was. Yeah, I'm a mercenary. I'll take the money. But I don't think there's a disconnect between the two. Agreeing that the output is, in fact, fair use, and also agreeing that you got to pay the people that you're training the thing on, because both can be true. My last out video about this, where I was talking about the court cases back this past summer, a bunch of people had some objections to, and I think because a lot of people think emotionally instead of actually thinking. Um, but I don't see a disconnect between those two. I'm going to be happy to take the money from Anthropic. I've already placed the claim in with the legal team that's running the class action suit. If OpenAI is judged to be similarly, and my works were used in their model, I'll be happy to take cash from that because I think I should have been if they're using my works to shape to create their model. and their model is then used to create other works, it's no it's kind of no different than if you're licensing out your work to a to create a graphic novel or a song or a movie or whatever. I view it sort of as a derivative work in that sense. Um, you license it out, and then you don't control the product of the licensing. Same kind of thing here, except that the AI companies didn't bother with the licensing agreement first. The licensing agreement is good, and the author is paid. Then that seems to me that checks the blocks, and then the output is a separate thing. So both can be true. Fair use of the output, and you have to pay the people that you're using to train the AI engine. I think both can be true, and it looks like it's coming true at least in the Anthropic case. For my own personal benefit, I hope, assuming that OpenAI used some of my stuff, I hope that comes true in that. Even if I am not personally involved, I am certain that several writers who I know and correspond with probably were, and I hope they get a payout as well from OpenAI and the other places because what I just said, it's almost like a intellectual property licensing thing, except this is a new version of it that hasn't really been worked out yet. And I think once it's worked out and the legalities are established, and maybe you're probably going to have to modify copyright law to fully accommodate it, like legally through Congress. Um, but once it gets worked out, I think it could be beneficial for everybody because it is true that people are able to use these large language models to, you know, to increase their output of their writing, or in the arts, in the visual art style, to modify or things that are already produced and make them, amazing animations like I just talked about, or creating new things based solely on inputs that were, you know, inspired by, previous things that were used to train the engine. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with using it that way, provided that the steps taken in the development of the model were correct. Um, yeah, so just want to talk about that. I found that interesting because obviously I'm a writer, and I though I am a peon, nobody knows who I am. I still have stuff out there and have made money off the stuff out there, and am interested in keeping hold on the properties that I have created. I also see on the other side the potential benefits of these tools going forward, and it's got to be a balance. And I think this settlement is a start of it, and there's probably have to be more coming down the line in terms of maybe, yeah, probably settlements with other companies, but also just general the hand wringing of legislation and balancing of interests, and to come up with a equitable arrangement for everybody. But we're in the beginning steps now, and uh, there's going to be pain for everybody going forward. But I think we're entering a new world. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. But um, I think this is an interesting. Well, personally, for me, it's a good step because I'll get money out of it. Um, Going forward, we'll see how it turns out. But it's gonna, yeah, we're entering in a new domain here, and I think it's gonna be neat. Anyway, hopefully, this gave you something to think about. If it did, Cool. Make sure you come back here again and we'll talk about more cool stuff and go check out a few of my books. Here's a great one that I released recently, Warfare Qualified, derived, not derived, inspired by my 20 years of naval service as a submarine officer. It's really awesome. If you like Tom Clancy, if you like military science fiction, if you just like science fiction, or you just like cool characters doing cool things, you're going to love it. I made this cool video about it. Check it out and then go pick up a copy. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Until then, don't do anything I wouldn't do.